The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. This is an hour, as you know, an hour Q&A to get you started on your SAP Access that you have purchased through Michael Management. Just to give you an introduction to ourselves, hopefully you can all see our screen. My name is Nicole. I will be your primary guide through the day today, through the hour, I should say. But we've also got Sarah on the call, who is our more technical expert. If you have any questions that are more technical in nature, she's going to be the one to jump in and answer those, whereas I'm going to help answer any questions you may have from a functional perspective. We've also got Claire on the call. She is the training manager. Many of you have probably already talked to her and or Sarah on several occasions. So Sarah, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sarah. I am the customer success manager. So I handle account activations, billing, and chat support, email support, just a little bit of everything. And I will be available today to help out and answer questions. I am not a functional expert necessarily the way Nicole is, but if there's something that I can't answer for you, we will parking lot it and try to get that answer before the end of the session.
Excellent, thank you. And Claire, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Claire Albaum, and as Nicole said, I'm the training manager, so I work with our live classes. So Nicole will touch on those a little bit at the end, so I'm happy to answer any questions you have about that. And then look out for an email from me later today or tomorrow. We always send out a recording of this session so that you can have it as well, and it will also be on our YouTube channel. And we actually have our past 2 sessions on YouTube as well. So we generally will chat about new topics each week. There is some overlap, but generally people bring in new questions. So always good to take a look at that if you feel like you're still interested in learning a bit more.
Excellent. Okay. And again, my name's Nicole Land. I did just want to point out that you are all muted by me. You may also be self-muted. But just because the flow of the conversation today is going to be, we're going to introduce you all to a few ideas, a few topics, a few things that might help jumpstart your SAP journey with Michael Management. And then at the end, I will open it up for questions, which we will coordinate through the questions panel of the GoToWebinar. So if you have a question at any time today, feel free to just type it in there. I will hold them all in queue until the end, and then we'll start answering them one by one. And if I need to unmute you so we can discuss your question kind of live, I will do that as well. So again, if you have any questions, just use that chat, not the chat panel, I'm sorry, use the questions panel, and I'll just get them queued up towards the end. And if I answer your question between now and the end, I think you can pull it back if you need to do that as well. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get started. Again, I'm Nicole Land. I've been in SAP for about 17 years now. I specialize in the production planning and manufacturing modules of SAP, but I've also got decades or coming up on 2 decades experience with the materials management module, the quality management module, the sales and distribution module, and even the global trade services module. So I do have a broad range of experience that I think I can help bring to the table today to help you in your journey. And then Sarah has got years of experience on the technical side. So I do feel like you're in good hands today. Hopefully we can get all of your questions answered. Functionally speaking, which again is what I'm going to talk to today, the functional side of SAP, you may have gotten access to SAP and you're not quite sure what to do with that access. So that's kind of what we want to kick you off today with, is just understanding your desktop GUI. If you have the desktop GUI downloaded to your computer, you can change how that GUI appears to you. So think of this as like changing your shirt. Monday you wear a red shirt and Tuesday you wear a blue shirt. You can change the configuration and display of your GUI through these menu options. You can change the color, you can change how the buttons appear, you can just change the whole look and feel of the GUI on your computer. That doesn't change how SAP functions. SAP is SAP, whichever system you have access to, it is what it is. This just controls how it looks, how it's presented to you when you log in. So if you need to do that or if you want to do that, you can use this is from your Start menu. You'll look for the SAP Front End folder in your Start menu. Once you click into that SAP Front End folder, you should see an option for SAP GUI configuration. And then from there, you're looking for a folder that says Visual Design. And within that, you can select your theme. You can change your theme settings. You can change the color to anything that suits your mood for that day. So that's a fun way to start your SAP journey. Then let's talk about actually logging in. If you've downloaded the desktop GUI, you will have a SAP logon pad icon on your computer that looks very similar to the one I'm showing here. And depending on which system you've purchased, whichever subscription to the system you've purchased, that will be displayed in your logon pad. From there, it's just a matter of double-clicking that to launch the logon screen, which will look something like this. Now, if you are using the web GUI, which some of you may be using, it may look a little bit different. But at the end of the day, whether you're using the web GUI or the desktop GUI, when you go to log in, you will need 3 pieces of information. You'll need the client, which will be provided to you in the email confirmation from micromanagement. You'll need your user ID, which usually starts with the word student and then has some number after it, again, provided to you in the email confirmation from micromanagement, and then your password, which again is an initial password. Once you log in for the first time, you'll be prompted to change that to something hopefully easier to remember. So that's all you need to log into the system, and again, whichever system you have purchased access to. Once you're logged into the system, what can you do? We want to help jumpstart your journey. So the first thing I would recommend is exploring your favorites. Adding transactions to your favorites menu so they're right there at your fingertips. That way you don't have to worry about memorizing transaction codes in the early days of your SAP experience. You can just log them into your favorites folder for quick and easy access. The longer you're in SAP, the more you will start to memorize particular transaction codes. But until that day, definitely use the favorites. You can add transactions to your favorites folder a couple of different ways. The easiest way is to drag and drop. So if you navigate through the SAP menu, and navigate, these folders represent functional modules. So the logistics module, within there you'll find the materials management module, you'll find the sales and distribution module, the quality management module, FICO modules are under the accounting folder. As you navigate through that SAP menu, if you come across a transaction that you think would be better, it would serve you to have it in your favorites, you can literally just drag and drop it up. It doesn't take it out of the SAP menu folder, it just adds it up to your favorites folder. So that's one way to do that. You can also right-click on your favorites folder and choose Insert Transaction. And if you do that method, you have to know the transaction code that you're adding. So just keep that in mind. If you don't know the code off the top of your head, you will need to find it in the menu and then drag and drop it up. So that's favorites. Let's talk about your user settings. Some of you may not be in the United States. Some of you may be somewhere else in the world. In that case, you may want to change your decimal notation. You may want to change your date format. You may want to change your time format from a 12-hour to a 24-hour. You can do that through your user settings, and you get there by using the More menu, and then the System menu, and then the User Data option. This here, your decimal notation, there's a drop down there. You can decide if you're a European format, you're using decimals where the US uses commas and vice versa. You can change how your decimals are notated in the system. Also your date format. There are a handful of options as to how you choose to display your dates in SAP, and then obviously the time format as well. You can change all of that right there in your user settings. That is a user by user setting. So if you have access to more than one system with MMC, that is something you're going to have to do in each system. Just keep that in mind. All right, so I mentioned before exploring the SAP menu. This is where I would recommend anyone start if you don't have much exposure to SAP. Everything you need is going to be in that SAP menu. All of the functional modules that standard SAP offers are right there in that SAP menu, most of which, again, are in this logistics folder. So if you expand that logistics folder, you're going to see all the common and even some not so common functional modules, starting with materials management, sales and distribution, the logistics module, the production planning module, and then the quality management modules. Those are some of the more common modules. Governance, risk, and compliance, that is the original trade compliance module of SAP that is there, less common module use. Warehouse management, transportation management, even advanced planning. Those are all modules available in SAP, but they're probably some of the more less common modules. But they're all there. If you have access to the system, you would have access to explore and play around with anything available in any of those modules. If you want to play around, you're going to need a material. Okay, so the best way to do that is to use MM60. That's the transaction code, the materials list, MM60. You can query whichever system you're in. You can query that system and find materials that you can use to play around with, right? You can also go create your own materials. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. So if you're going to play around in the system, functionally speaking, you're going to need a material to do that with. And MM60 is a great way to find a material that is already set up, already exists in the system that you can use to process some transactions. So MM60, I would definitely recommend adding that one to your favorites. Sales orders, if you want to play around with sales orders, if you want to look at or explore an existing sales orders, you can do that through VA05. You can query the system that you're in for existing sales orders, and you can start exploring the document structure, the data that is on those, the organizational structure of those orders. That might, one, help you learn how to navigate a sales order, but it will also help you when you go to create a sales order on your own. You can do it by copying the data from an existing sales order. That's a great way to start learning. If you are a FICO, if you're interested in some FICO functionality, I would encourage you to use FBL3N. That's a mouthful, I know, but that's the transaction code to look for and find and edit any existing GL accounts that are in the system. So if you're going to play around in the FICO area, you're probably going to need a GL account in your back pocket to facilitate some of those transactions that you want to do. So FBL3N, the GL account display, is a good transaction for you to find existing GL accounts that have already been set up in the system. Error messages. This is an important part of the learning curve, okay? If you are, especially for those of you new to SAP, but even those of us that have been in SAP for decades, anytime you get into a new system, you don't know what hands have been in the system, you don't know what configuration is out there, we don't know what we don't know at this point. So I encourage you to not get frustrated by any error messages that you may come across. Becoming an SAP user, part of that journey is understanding and being able to troubleshoot error messages that you get. So I would definitely encourage you to not just freak out and shy away from an error message, but go to the MMC website. There is a handful of free resources on the micromanagement website, even an error message library. And I may be saying that wrong. Sarah can speak more to that. But there is a tool on the micromanagement website where you just put in the message code, and the micromanagement website returns some information for you to help you understand that error, and maybe even what you can do to resolve that error. If by the off chance, the slim chance that the micromanagement website can't help you, Google can. There are tons of SAP forums out there. If you haven't used Google as a resource for learning and figuring things out, especially around error messages, Google and SAP forums are some backup tools that you can use in addition to the micromanagement website. All right, so now I'm going to open it up to some questions, and it looks like we do have some in the queue. So it looks like Sharan, I hope I'm saying that right. I am learning SAP HANA Modeler as a fresher. Can we get jobs? So I'm going to come to you Sharon, and I hope I'm saying that right. I have unmuted you, but you may need to also unmute yourself. Let's just activate your microphone and let's see if we can answer your question. Sharon, do you see how to unmute yourself? Sharon, if you can't figure that out, go ahead and type into the questions pane and we can come back to you. But there should be a little red microphone that says you're muted on your control panel. If not, then I will try to answer the question that you have asked, how to practice in the HANA Studio. So when you say HANA, I'm not sure, because when we talk about what the difference is between the systems, there is S4 HANA and then there's HANA. So HANA in and of itself is the underlying database structure that SAP has moved to. So if anyone remembers old school SAP, you had an extremely complicated set of database tables that the ECC system sat on top of. And the HANA database, for lack of a better way to describe it, it's just a simplified database structure. So how to practice in the HANA, I think the best way to do that is to get into the S4HANA system that micromanagement offers and start exploring the fundamental database changes at the database level that HANA brings to the table.
Nicole,
Yes.
if you need a HANA Studio, our offering is probably not the best for you because my basis team does not allow access to HANA DB. So if HANA Studio is what you're after, this is not going to be the solution for you. Unfortunately, I do not have a workaround for that one.
Okay, so that's good to know. That is HANA Studio. So what HANA options do we offer?
I mean, that's pretty broad for me to be able to answer succinctly and know that I'm going to be correct, because most things we can do. I just know that's one of those things that the basis team simply does not allow. Anything that requires access to HANA DB, we're not able to do it.
Okay. All right, it looks like Sharon's question is more around salary and getting jobs. So there is an infographic. I know that Michael Management just did a post on LinkedIn the other day about SAP salaries, the various jobs in SAP. It's hard for me to answer that question with any specifics, Sharon, because the salary, especially an entry-level salary, it's really going to depend on what kind of role you're going for. So in the SAP space, there are functional analyst roles, such as myself. There are business analyst roles, which I've also served in. There are data migration specialists. There are implementation specialists. There are project managers who don't necessarily need any SAP knowledge, but they have experience managing SAP projects. There are ABAP developers in the SAP space. There are security analysts. There are basis administrators. So it's really hard to answer that. Native HANA modeler is technical. Okay, so I would encourage you, Sharon, if you're looking for some salary information, there is an infographic that MMC has on their website. And when we get to that portion here in just a minute, I think I can show you where that infographic is that will help you understand some salary ranges that you might expect within the SAP space. Okay, so any other questions? We have about 7 people on the call today. So if you do have a question, if you don't, I'm going to keep going in our presentation. And Sharon, if I have not answered your questions, just keep adding them to the queue and I will come back to them and hopefully answer them. Okay, so let's talk about how you can get started in the system. And again, it doesn't matter if you've got access to the S4HANA system, if you've got access to an ECC6 system, whatever, functionally speaking, how do you get started in the system from MMC? So I've put together a list of some exercises from each of the common modules. This is some exercises that you could do to jumpstart you within the materials management module. And I have 3 levels of difficulty. The first one is obviously the baby steps. The second one is an intermediate where we start walking. And then the third one is where we start running, more of an advanced exercise. So again, a baby step. Let's go find a material in the system using the MM60 transaction. Let's go find and see what materials are out there. That would be an easy way to get started with some transactional experience. From there, you can display that material that you find using MM03 and just start learning about the material master. What are those tabs? What is the organizational structure of that material? And then from there, you can go and try to create your own material using MMO1 by copying the material that you found in MM60. So that would be a great way to get introduced to the material master record. And I don't see any more questions yet, so I'm going to keep going. From a sales and distribution perspective, again, an easy way to get started is to use VA05 to go look for existing sales orders that have been created in the system. From there, you can take it a little bit further, get a little bit more advanced, and you can navigate that existing sales order using VA03, and you can determine what the order details are. You can look at the customers on that order. You can look at the pricing on that order. You can look at the material that's on that order. And then you can even try to create your own sales order using VA01. And again, you can either have 2 screens open side by side and just manually create using the existing one as a guide, or you could even copy. There is a copy function in VA01 that you can copy an existing order. So that would be a good way to get introduced to the sales and distribution modules. The FI module, some exposure there. Again, the FBL3N to locate an existing GL account. From there, you can display that GL account using FSP0. You can understand and navigate the different areas of the GL account setup. And you can also use FSP0 to create a new GL account using that existing one as a guide. So hopefully you see a theme here. You can use these queries to find existing data, display that existing data to just kind of understand the structure and the navigation of that object, and then use the creation to start creating your own examples in the system. Some free resources. I mentioned before, there are ebooks, there are cheat sheets, and there are infographics. So this document that I'm presenting here, you should all get a copy of this after our call today. So Claire should be emailing this to you. So you'll have these links, you'll have these transactions, you'll have these transaction codes, everything we've covered here today. And I would encourage you to go to this link here, this infographics link. That, Sharan, is where you're going to find that salary infographic. You will find some table infographics if you're looking for the tables at a database level. There's just a ton of information, and it's all free on the micromanagement website. There is also a blog about getting started with your Access subscription. So if there's something that we haven't covered here today and you're not comfortable answering the question, I encourage you to check out this blog. That's going to get you started as well. And then again, if you still have questions from there, you can always reach out through the chat feature or join our next Q&A. We have this Q&A session is monthly, so you can always join the next one as well. The error message tool that I talked about before, that link is here as well. So if you are playing around in the SAP system, you come across an error message. I will tell you that some of the error messages are very cryptic. Sometimes things don't translate well from German to English or German to any other language for that matter. So it may not be very clear what the error message is trying to tell you. Use this error message lookup tool and it will help decode that message for you. That link is here for your use. So all of these resources are completely and totally free on the micromanagement website. We do have some not so free resources. If you still want to get started, these are well worth the money. I think anyone would agree. We have simulation courses These are, Sarah can speak more to these. We have live Jumpstart courses, which are instructor-led, myself, and some other highly qualified, depending on the module. So I teach a live SAP Jumpstart, just an overall high-level introduction to SAP in general. We'll get your hands in the system. We have actual hands-on exercises for you to walk through. I'm also teaching a materials management Jumpstart class, so it will be specifically focused on the materials management module. And again, it's live in that we're on the webinar together. It's not face to face, but it is live, just like our call today. And I have hands-on exercises for you to do in that class as well. And we have a sales and distribution Jumpstart class that I teach as well. There's also a FICO class. That is not a class that I teach, but I know there is a highly qualified instructor teaching that course as well. The theme there is you have live access to a very qualified instructor. You have hands-on exercises that we guide you through to get your hands into the system. We also have one-on-one access sessions, and I think I'm going to turn it over to Sarah now. I think she can help describe the one-on-one access sessions and the simulation courses. So Sarah, why don't you jump in and talk about those?
Sure thing. So I actually do the one-on-one live access session. We have a couple different ways we can do it. The way I really think works best is just to have you, after you purchase it, hop on chat and I can remote into your computer. So that's really fast because you don't have to do anything. Basically, you just sit there. Although, I do it. I love doing it and helping you guys. It is a paid option. So I'm always going to suggest your free resources to get yourself set up first, especially because you might be having issues just maybe downloading the GUI, which would not really be something I'll try to support it, but it's not something I actually support on my end because the GUI is run by SAP. And if you're having trouble with the install, then it's likely, something going on with your computer. If for some reason it won't work, we have a web GUI as well. And also if we were to do a session like that and for some reason you weren't happy with it or it didn't work, then I would offer you a refund on it, just like we do with our live access. If it just doesn't work for you, let us go ahead and send you your money back. We're here to make you happy. The simulation courses are also really interesting and a favorite offering of mine as far as our courses go, other than the live Jumpstart courses that we have with Nicole, because I do get to sit in on those and they are awesome. If you have the opportunity to take one, please do so. And always, if it's out of the budget this month and you want to take it, let me know and I'll see what I can work out for you so we can get you in one. But the simulation courses are my next favorite kind of course we have. And that is because you get live practice in like an SAP, almost like an emulator type system. So not the full live access system that we offer, but like a small, tiny version of it within the course. So you learn how to do something and then you follow along and do it yourself in a practice system right there in the course. And just like any of our on-demand courses, you can retake lessons or stop and start whenever you want. So I just find it really helpful, especially maybe you've even already completed the course and now you're doing it for real or you're practicing it in live access. You can always jump into your course, even though it's completed, find that lesson for that specific action you're trying to remember how to do, take it a few times, jump back in to whatever you're doing. So they're super, super helpful in that way. But also, let's just be real. Most people don't learn by sitting and listening to a lecture or by reading a manual. That's not how most people's brains work. When you are actually practicing and doing, you're really going to learn it a lot faster. And that's one thing I really love about those courses.
Excellent. I agree. I learned by doing. So being able to teach the live Jumpstart courses, I think those are invaluable because you're in the system live with me. I set up the data for you. I set up the exercises for you, and then we follow along. And if you need to share your screen because you're running into a problem, I can make you presenter. It's just very, very user friendly and they're very informal. So I do encourage you to take either either the simulation or the live Jumpstarts if you are trying to get some functional experience under your belt. Okay, so I still don't have any questions in the queue. No worries, not a problem. This is the end of our session though, so if there are questions, I encourage you to pop them into that question now. Otherwise, I'm going to give you about a half hour back of your day. Let's come back to our questions slide just in case. And again, don't be shy. There are no stupid questions. Perhaps you're wondering what kind of access is offered. There is, let me hop over to the Michael Management website really quickly, because there are multiple options when it comes to the access. So from the home page, if you click the SAP Access, you can see we have a section here for the most popular systems. There's the S/4HANA with the Fiori, several versions of that. There are developer and sister administrator options as well. So if you're not functional, you don't want to be a functional consultant, you want to maybe look at ABAP, even security and basis type stuff, these options might be better for you. Other SAP systems, again, I would encourage you to not be afraid to explore the S/4HANA because that is where everyone is moving. But if you are still trying to learn and explore the ECC 6, those options are available as well. BI, Solution Manager, PI, CRM, all available. And then some private SAP access. And then these are the live one-on-one setup access sessions. So if you are interested in those, you can find those right here as well on the SAP access section. I will also point out the chat tool if you haven't used it already. If you do have questions that we either didn't answer or you didn't think of during our call today, there is the chat feature there. I would encourage you to use the resources we've given you, but if none of those are helpful, then obviously the chat feature is a great way to get some help. Okay, still no questions. I am going to assume that we've answered all of your questions in record time today. So no worries, I enjoyed today. Hopefully, if you do have questions, you've reached out beyond this call and look for the email from Claire with the handout from today's session so you can get started in the systems that you do have access to. Okay, with that, I wish you a great day, everyone. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, everyone. Feel free to reach out to me on chat if you think of some questions later today.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you.